Student letting, obviously a big buzzword at the moment. There's a huge opportunity in lots of ways, in the right place with the right advice and the right professionals around you, the right people. But there's lots and lots of bullshit and lots of scams ultimately out there as well. And when you start taking a few more risks, you start seeing real rewards. You get losses and it hurts sometimes, and the punch in the face suck. But the wins far outweigh the losses when you start taking some risks. Property investment is by no means a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a get-rich in 10 years scheme. It's not anything else. If you're going to invest, which means buy, hold, and wait, you need to wait 20 years at least for your property to do anything for you.
Good morning, Grant.
Hi.
So I'm going to start with a few property investment questions.
Cool.
The first one is, how would you describe the current property investment market within South Africa?
Diverse, mixed, and full of bullshit is a short answer. So I think there's diverse because there's so many opportunities. Student letting, obviously a big buzzword at the moment. Multi-family tenant or multi-tenancy investment also is massive. Then you've got the big guys, the big developers selling the opportunity to buy to let. And then the banks are coming to that party about buy to let. And then you've got the sort of the mini commercial, lots of small industrial warehousing and mini warehousing, that story. So there's so much, but there's so much that's fraught with bullshit and nonsense and just salespeople, estate agents selling nonsense, developers selling nonsense, owners who own it who are losing money are selling nonsense. There's so much. And then you've got these online gurus and internet morons that sell property investment education and just are actually selling courses and nonsense. They're actually not telling the truth. So there's a huge opportunity in lots of ways, in the right place with the right advice and the right professionals around you, the right people that have got your best interests at heart in terms of their opinion and their guidance. But there's lots of bullshit and lots of scams ultimately out there as well.
Yeah, a lot of uptake on the social medias with people that think they know everything.
Yeah, I bought 2 properties now. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. No, you haven't. You bought 2 properties and you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't lost money yet. So show me where you've had a track record. You've bought property where you've messed up, where you've made mistakes, where you've lost money, and then you've made it again. And then we start having a conversation. Show me where you've got a portfolio that doesn't exist beyond 5 properties and now you're stuck because you can't get financing, because then you've got no experience. Show me your investment structures that you use that make sense and aren't just the nonsense you got from some internet guru who says, make sure you get a trust investor. Just show me you've walked a road. Show me you've got an investment banker or a banker with you that will finance you and fund you, and that you're not going to friends and family to go and get money to try and buy the next opportunity. Once you start showing me those things, that says to me you've got the expertise to guide me. If you don't have that expertise, then just shush and carry on building your own business first and learn from there.
Which regions or cities are showing the strongest growth potential right now?
So what's the most exciting? Not the strongest growth potential. Cape Town remains super exciting in pockets, super expensive in certain areas, but there's real pockets of the Western Cape, let me say, that are really exciting. You look at sort of affordable areas in Cape Town, northern suburbs, Kuilsriver, Brackenfell, even to extent Parow and Goodwood, they were very well located. They just need to be gentrified. So long-term play, property investment is always a long-term play. In Gauteng, I would certainly look at the East Rand. It always has been undervalued and still creates a massive opportunity, because there's so much employment in that area. In the East Rand, you've got the airports and all the industries that thrive, logistics, warehousing, manufacture, everything else that actually provides jobs. Buy and invest around those areas. Don't go to Sandton where what jobs they're providing, fucking 8,000 property banking jobs to try and give people finance that can't get finance. I mean, it's just, invest where there's real hubs of employment. PE is a super interesting but volatile space. It's super speculative and a good opportunity there. And then the north coast of KZN is potentially a long-term good play, particularly because from a commuter belt or commuter experience for people to get to Gauteng is really good. 1 hour flight is better than the 2 and a bit hour flight from here. And King Sharka really put a focus on, by locating where they did, they put a real focus on the north coast and opened that north coast region up in a big way. So there's lots of pockets. Pretoria is outperforming most of Gauteng. Super exciting. I actually have told lots of people that if I ever moved back from Western Cape back to Gauteng, I would go to Pretoria. Pretoria for me is a version of Cape Town in Gauteng. It's exciting. Infrastructure looks good. Again, pockets of excellence, really good space, good lifestyle, great weather, better than Joburg actually. So there's lots of real benefits to that. Good student environment, and lots of head offices, interestingly, being based up in that Pretoria East area, which is exciting again from an employment and economic perspective.
What have the interest rate fluctuation or how has the interest rate fluctuation impacted the investment markets?
Don't know the truth or not. Yes. It hasn't touched it. People talk about interest rates like they're going to change the fucking world, and 0.25 basis points impacts most people by 80 to 100 Rand in a month. But then you got fuel price that fluctuates every single month that kills that. You got logistic prices that are going through the roof because of fuel prices, and that means food prices go up. So every bit of the benefit by interest rate drops is eroded by everything else that's wrong with our economy. And the focus of our South African Reserve Bank on inflation as a driver behind interest rates is entirely the wrong fucking place. It's a first world policy in a third world country, which doesn't work. And it's a crock of shit. And the news outlets and estate agents make it seem like it's the next golden ticket. Interest rates coming down now buy. Don't talk shit. Look how many people are in trouble today because everybody bought into that bullshit in 2020. Interest rates are flying down. People started buying properties that they actually couldn't afford in a normalized environment. And now, years later, we're seeing people that are, in Gauteng in particular, that can't give away properties because they overfinanced, they haven't increased in value, but they have to do something because they're in big shit. So what has the interest rate fluctuation done? It actually got a lot of people to shit, if I'm honest about it, because they again bought into the bullshit of the gurus and the estate agents and the news outlets saying this is going to change your world, where it doesn't make a fucking difference. What actually changes the investment environment is economic growth, infrastructure investment, and creation of jobs. That's what creates and drives any economic growth in the area, but also property investment. So that's why is Western Cape so expensive. We've got limited supply of property. It's super expensive to build, and we've got huge economic employment opportunities, which means people are coming here in their droves. And because of that, the demand's high, and people are looking to pay more. They have to pay more for that. So that's what drives property investment side. So at its core focus, the focus of any government policy should be in employment first, and worry about everything else after.
So I've been experiencing with quite a few clients that are first-time home buyers that they are looking at potentially buying an investment property first before they buy a property for themselves. Yeah. What is your opinion about that?
So my opinion is that that's 100% the correct way to go, because you buy a home, you live in that home for 20, 30 years, 15 years, and then when you want to sell that home, you then now are in the owner mindset, I have to own my own home, and you want to buy the next one. And yes, your property goes from R1 million to R2 million in those 15 years, but when you sell it to R2 million, you actually haven't made R1 million. You've just kept up with the market, because the next property you need to move to is now R3 million. So you take another R1 million bond, you got to $2 million. So it's 100% the right decision to go to a world where you buy a smaller investment property based on yield. Make sure it's either breaking even or cash flow positive, which is very difficult, but at least breaking even. And you then rent a property that is cheaper than the property you would have otherwise bought. And in the Western Cape, it's super easy. You can go and live in Atlantic Beach in a 10 million rand home, but rent it for 40,000 rand, The difference in that cost is 60, 70,000 rand ownership. Take that 70,000 rand if you've got it and put it into an investment property. Take that right down to a lower level and say you're a first-time home buyer, you're a young professional. Don't go and buy the 2 million rand Baldwin flat. Go and buy 2 1 million rand flats up in Goodwood, Kales River, Brackenfell. Rent those out and rent one of the Baldwin flats for 15 grand. It's cheaper to rent than it is to own. You provided less security in terms of stability. But from a rand value and financial, what makes financial sense is definitely renting. You don't have the cost of maintenance, you don't have levies, you don't have rates and taxes, and you're subsidizing a landlord's bond, but you're only subsidizing, you're not covering, because they're paying the interest, they're paying the bond, they're paying the rates, levies, and taxes. In fact, your lifestyle in a Baldwin unit or wherever else is being subsidized by your landlord who owns that property. Again, because they've taken a long-term view, and in 20 years' time, yes, then they benefit. And you've got to decide as a property investor, are you willing to sit and wait 20 years to actually benefit out of property investment? Property investment is by no means a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not a get-rich in 10 years scheme. It's not anything else. Unless you're developing and you're a skilled developer where you can make money and you are actually speculating and you're trading, If you're going to invest, which means buy, hold, and wait, you need to wait 20 years at least for your property to do anything for you.
It's quite interesting. I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's more around 10 years, but you
Well,
think
after 10 years, only after your 10th year of paying your mortgage, you actually start paying any capital down, any significant amount of capital. So those first 10 years, you've pretty much paid interest. So if you just took that difference and said, okay, well, I'm going to rent at a cheaper rate, take the difference between the two and invest it somewhere else, you can invest, don't have to invest in property, invest anyway. Maybe not Bitcoin, but maybe Bitcoin, I don't know. But put it in a solid investment, you're going to actually make more money over the long term.
So we have a few questions from the office.
Okay.
So I hope you're prepared for it.
Never.
The first one is coming from Nadine's side.
Okay.
She's asking if you could take it back and not be an entrepreneur and fall back on your finance career and go into corporate, would you do it?
Not a chance in hell. Politely, no chance in hell. It was never my world. It was never the space I could thrive in or grow in or try stuff in or test or even the people in that world that I met. And maybe it's different now, but the people that I met just didn't align with where I wanted to go, my thought process about where my life could be and everything else. And maybe not everything's played out the way I want, but I've had a certain level of autonomy and control over my life that I don't think a lot of those guys in the finance world have. I didn't like that I was prescribed I had to do this number of days in this way and whatever else. And being an entrepreneur, you think you're your own boss, but you're really not. You have responsibilities to a lot of people, both shareholders, but also your clients and definitely your staff. So there's a responsibility there, but it's a responsibility where I know like the buck stops with me. In finance, it just wasn't a world that I would entertain or go back to. I like employing them. I like employing accountants and finance people, but no, I would never go back.
And then Jesse's question to you is, what would you tell your 7-year-old self?
Sure. 7-year-old self. Would my 7-year-old self listen to me? What do I tell my 7-year-old self? I think at one stage I grew up with a level of fear of getting myself out there. So I think I would have tried more things in my younger years, like got yourself out there, put yourself in more uncomfortable situations. I think you always try to be protected and never put yourself out there. And to the degree where I didn't speak in front of people, I was fearful of that. I was fearful of, so many things. Getting on stage, getting in front of people, giving my opinion. There was lots of things that I did for a long time. And at some stage in my late teens, early 20s, you start realizing like, what's the fear for? What's the worst that can happen? If nobody's going to die, you might as well do it. So, and you're not going to die. So I won't jump and I won't bungee jump. Not a chance in hell, because there's a chance you might die. But other than that, take more chances, I think is the thing. Not to be too safe. So I started taking a few more risks. And when you start taking a few more risks, you start seeing real rewards. You get losses and it hurts sometimes, and the punch in the face suck. But the wins far outweigh the losses when you start taking some risks.
Then Zandre asked, if you could live anywhere in Cape Town and money wasn't a problem, where would you
Constantia.
live?
Love Constantia, love the mountain, love the trees, love the environment there, just love it. Trees, mountains, we live in Blouberg or we live in Melkbos by the ocean, but the ocean's cool to look at, but I'm not keen to go in it. But I really like, overgrown areas, massive trees and mountains. Yeah.
Then Sergio asked, where do you get your good looks from?
My very mixed DNA, I guess, is what I'm going to tell you. I did a DNA test a couple of years ago. It's got a very mixed background. So tell Sergio I'm going to have to go and dig into my DNA and find the 4,000 contributors.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then Tyler from Bond Spark said you are quite a busy man with your fingers in a few pies.
Yeah.
His question to you is, how do you cope with everything that's on your plate?
Fucking don't. And don't cope. You're fighting every single day. No, there's no chance. And I sometimes do look at it and I go like, am I doing too much? And I get told a lot to get doing too much. But I think I just get excited by the opportunities that are created where people aren't seeing opportunities, and I try and do those things. And sometimes I overstretch myself and you sort of do burn and particularly over the last couple of years, especially with the growth of the business and where it's gone, I've sort of plugged in and tried to see, okay, maybe we can do this and we can do that, and nobody else is doing it, so we can do these extra things. But this year has been a real year of consolidation. So it seems like we're doing a lot now. We're doing far less than we were in the past. But I think it's much more focused, and sort of there's one sort of golden thread of property, and now make sure that everything that's aligned speaks to that. So I think it's been a learning curve for me. Is don't be too spread thin. Don't get too excited by too many opportunities. But yeah, I mean, there's no ways if you're in a bold and grow mindset, I think it's near impossible to stay on top of it, and you shouldn't be. If you're feeling comfortable, that's the worst place you can be. So I need to be. And I think that drives me. I need to be uncomfortable all the time, because like I'm uncomfortable, feeling discomfort, then I know, okay, I'm being pushed. And I think one of my greatest fears is just being bored. Like I can't, and I sound like my kids now, I'm bored. But I mean, I just can't imagine not having a challenge or an adventure or an opportunity that we're exploring, or that world doesn't make sense to me. Like it makes you feel a bit alive. Like imagine just sitting at a desk doing the same thing day in and day out. Fuck me, what a life. Like, so it's like, I used to drive to town all the time. I used to have an office out there and drive and get stuck in the traffic. And one of my things I used to do, two things. I don't listen to the radio. I don't like the radio. I think, and I get knocked for this a lot, especially because I go on radio for interviews. But I think a lot of radio, especially traffic time radio, is mind-numbing crap where the DJs talk shit and have got very limited life experience and big opinions. And I think it just makes people dumber, to be honest. And part two is I enjoy driving, looking at people in their cars in traffic and looking at their faces. And if you just drive and sit in traffic and look at people's faces, there's very few times that you'll see a smile unless they're with somebody, and normally kids in the car, because the kids bring the happiness and joy to it. And very often they look dead inside, they look soulless. And you just think like, is that the life that you predicted for yourself or wanted for yourself? And knowing that that's not the life that you want to predict for yourself, you've got the control. You're sitting at the steering wheel. All you have to do is just do a U-turn and choose something else, but you don't. You sit in that traffic every single day for 25, 30, 40 years. At the end of your life, you think, oh, I had a great career at XYZ company. And you fucking didn't have a great career because it sucked. You hated your life. You hated sitting in traffic. You earned money, which is absolutely imperative, but you didn't do anything you wanted to do. And now you're at the end of your career, you leave the job. They filled your desk day two after you left. Maybe you had a little farewell party that felt super forced because they threw some ribbon on you and gave you a fucking gold pen that they got from the downstairs store. But there's nothing there. There's people actually don't give a shit. So just build the life that you want. And for me, it's building the life I want is not be bored. I think that's the biggest thing.
Claudia is asking, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Where do I see myself in 10 years' time? So I've got this big aspiration to travel quite a lot. I really love traveling when I was in the UK. So I'd love to be traveling a lot with my wife and kids. My kids by 10 years' time will all be in their 20s, which would be frightening. But I think it'd be super cool to be sort of living a life with them. At the same time, building a business with a bunch of really cool people. So we spent the last also 2-3 years trying to get the right people in the right places for this growth journey that we're on and going on. And I think if we can continue getting the right people in the right places, which we seem to be getting right at the moment, I think we're going to have a really cool business that we can really leverage off of to build experiences for everybody, build experiences for myself and my family, and the people that are entrenched in the business and building the business together. We can build a really cool business in a really cool way, and also enable and empower them to have really cool experiences that they want to achieve. So I think there's that. Like I really thrive with other people being successful. I think it's the fucking coolest thing. Like I love paying big commission checks out. I love making sure that people can take their kids on holiday or just do stuff they want to do. I think that's the coolest thing. So if our business in the future, in 10 years' time, can empower everybody to just live better lives and have better lives, and I'm in the same breath achieving our goals of living a better life and particularly traveling with the kids and my wife in particular, then I think that'd be a super cool place to be.
So we know for a successful person, usually the morning routine is the most crucial. So Tanith's question is, how does your morning routine look like?
I've got 3 kids. It's chaos every morning. Like it's absolute chaos. Like you got no control of your morning routine. What talking shit they talk about? No. We're generally up 5:30 in the morning, and either forced or or encouraged because the kids normally got an extramural in the morning. And then it's just, it's straight downstairs. I do like doing breakfast with the kids. So I think that's quite an important one. I do like taking them to school. So that's something that I do enjoy. And I almost sometimes when I don't take them to school, I feel like there's that gap missing. It's like, it doesn't fill. So yeah, it's literally up in the morning, breakfast with the kids, and then the school run. And if I don't do the school run, I will just grab a coffee and get to the office. And I'll sometimes be at the office. I do often, actually, weirdly, and I don't know how many people know, I often arrive here 7:15 in the morning, 7:20 in the morning. I'll only come into the office about 8 o'clock because I'm normally watching a podcast downstairs or just going through a couple of things, not work, but like, thoughts or read something or just go through a podcast and listen to a podcast in the morning downstairs in the basement by myself, look like this weird lurker in the car. But yeah, and just, because I think it's important in my personal life with the 3 kids. They're super busy and it is a lot sometimes. And then you're in professional life, when you're in the office, we've got lots of people, lots of demands, lots of different humans and different personalities. And then on email and WhatsApp and whatever, it's just consistent. So just that's often is my gap. It's just like 30 minutes in the car, switch everything off again. I haven't listened to the radio on the way to the office. So it's dead silence, which is quite cool sometimes. And you get lost in your thoughts and you almost robotically get here. So it's nice just to sit for 30 minutes and just get some other information and listen to some really cool sort of snippets or podcasts before I come up.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tanner does have a second question for you. He wants to know, how much do you bench?
Not a lot, actually. I'm terrible at bench. So I probably get 80 kilos. That's about it. So nothing spectacular. It's probably the worst of my training things.
Perfect, thank you. And then Marco wants to know, how do we build the business that you have built in half of the time?
Right partners in the right times. I think particularly the first 5 years was wrong partners, being restricted by opinions versus informed decisions, being shackled by bullshit and politics versus actual driving a business. So right partners at the right time, I think, is the first thing. Actually, it's the only thing is the right people. It always comes down to the right people. Picking your partners wisely is super important, and partnership doesn't have to be own equity partnership. It actually can be partners in 2 estate agents working together. It can be people you bring into your world who can lead certain teams. So I view although I run the business, I view myself as everyone's partner. I partner with the estate agents, so I sit and have conversations with them, understand their pains. Where can we make adjustments? Because we split commissions, we're splitting revenue with the agents, so they're our partners. I've got sales leaders who have walked away from super lucrative jobs or the very successful estate agent careers to get fixed salaries to run teams. I see them as my partners because they've taken risk and they're trusting the process and the thought process and the idea. And it's sort of my dream of what this business can be. They're trusting that and so they're partnering with me on that journey. Although they're salaried, they're still partnering because they're taking risks and they could achieve things in other places if they wanted to, but they're trusting this process. So picking the right partner. So it comes down to people. I made some ill-informed, naive decisions early on, and some of those will forever be sort of little black marks, and some of them are just, thank God, we drove over that roadkill and moved on. So it's just one of those things about people.
Then Lisa wants to know, what is your end goal or vision for the Only Realty Group?
End goal, so by nature means there's some sort of finality to it, and I think what would be super cool is just to build a business where everyone that's involved thrives, and that continues in perpetuity, in spite of and despite. So if I tell you one of my other fears outside of being bored is getting hit by a bus and everything dies with me. And I think that's the most scary thing is this business shouldn't be built around me as a person or anything else. Yes, I've come with the ideas and the sort of hopefully some of the energy and insights but I think if we can build a business that sustains beyond a person, but benefits the humans that ever come in contact with, that's cool. So there's no finality to it. There's no end. There's just this machine that can hopefully really be beneficial to the people that are part of it in the future. So I think that's like any business. I think that's what any business should be. It shouldn't be extracting value. It shouldn't be sweatshops for people. It shouldn't be all these things that just is destructive to people in the long term. It should be built to grow people that it interacts with. So its clients and the people who have again backed it and partnered with it. It should grow everybody, and it will never be perfect. So I'm not going to pretend it's going to be perfect. That's not going to be every single person. But I think if we can do it by and large, most people, I think that'd be the real goal. Would I view it as a failure if I didn't achieve that? Probably. That'd be a failure. Yeah.
Renee is asking, if you could do anything besides what you're doing right now, what would you do?
What would I do if I could do anything else? So I had this thing, and I worked in a school. One of my first jobs in inverted commas, I worked in a school. I thought that was a super cool environment, and you'll see the theme here. Is I was at a high school which had just started out, it was a private school, and I worked as a sports coordinator there while I ran a little sports company on the side selling sports equipment, and that's how I met the headmaster. And he's built an amazing business. And the core reason why I went to the UK originally was to go away for 2 years, go earn some money, come back, and start a school with the money I saved. So I think that's really cool. So if I could get into education in the right education way, not restricted by all the bureaucracy and the bullshit, but just build a business there that would be, again, beneficial to the kids and grow these kids into what they can be and what all the schools tell you they do, but they don't fucking do. They just take your money. If you just could build something like that, I think in the educational space, I think that'd be a really cool play. Like if I think about anything I've ever done outside of what I do now, which I love immensely, is those, I can't remember now, 6 months, 8 months that I was in that environment was probably some of the best time I had in terms of just being able to work with kids, speak to them, get insight in their minds. Interestingly, their fears and their worries and their concerns, I sort of was the go-to. I was still young. I mean, I was in my early 20s, so it was almost like they could relate to me, they could relate to me and speak to me, but I could also, almost from an adult perspective, give some perspective and hopefully, it just in those 8 months, influence some thought process around their futures. Not to be so worried about marks and all that nonsense. There's a bigger world out there, and that's what I think I worry for my kids. Actually, not to answer that, is that in school they become so enclosed in this bubble and this world that's the whole world and the whole globe. And that's what's so important, I feel like, for us to have our kids travel and to understand that there's so much of a bigger world out there. There's 7.999 billion people out there that do not give a shit about whether you wore an old blazer or not. And I think once kids start understanding that the world is much larger than their own little community or their own little school or their own little town, and there's so much more out there, that's when they start having this sort of global view, like, actually, does the thing that I'm worrying about and so concerned about actually matter? Yeah.
Education is definitely one of the most important things.
Yeah, but it speaks then to the growth mindset, just growing people. I think that's the coolest thing. Like, just make it, like, why wouldn't it be a cool thing to just grow people? Like, why is that not the coolest thing in the world? Like, if you had the opportunity to, why wouldn't it be? But I think there's too many people out there that are so inward looking and self-centered about themselves and will scrape the bottom of the barrel to get every last grape out of there rather than feed people. And I think that just sucks.
Anna's question to you is, have you started or have you made an attempt to learn Portuguese?
Jesus. Let's give context to that question. My wife is second generation Portuguese. My parents-in-law are from Madeira. We've been to Madeira a few times. I've made an attempt several times, lots of day ones, lots of unsuccessful attempts at speaking Portuguese. The only way I know that they're talking about me is when they look at me while they're speaking. So, I mean, that's about it. So otherwise, no.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then other Claudia from accounting is asking, if you could start over and you could change anything, what would you change and why?
Back to partners, back to people, wrong people, backing wrong people. I've got this thing so my wife's quite skeptical about people first, and then they need to prove themselves. I'm the opposite way around. I trust everybody, and then they must fuck it up. But once they fucked it up, they fucked it up. And so loyalty is the most important thing for me. So I think, and the people that have stuck in my world and close have at some stage showed a high level of loyalty beyond what anybody could expect. And And that's why I've just sort of kept them close to me, because I think loyalty is the most important thing. So again, back to people, just making sure you're picking the right people, because again, it just impacts everything. The wrong person impacts the team around you. The wrong person not only impacts you directly, but also starts bringing other wrong people into your world. It changes your perspective on things. It alters your direction. It alters everything you do, like everything you do. And you can't follow what drives you or where you thrive, because you've got this other person that's there. And often the wrong people come off, they're either narcissistic or super egotistical or just envious, or there's just something, or overcompensating for some lack of something. And just all those things, all those traits are so cancerous. They can actually eat away. And weirdly, in teams, and we were speaking to Grant, James earlier about sports teams and everything else, one person in an entire squad can actually be so cancerous that it can impact the whole team. And I mean, you look at Rassi, and we speak about it again, bring up buzzword, but Rassi has specifically, there's two people that have been named that he has not put in the team. Why? Because of their attitudes. There's their poor attitudes in the team, and therefore he will not put them in the squad. A squad of 46. And these two players are immense world-class players, will make any international team in the world. Rassi will not put them in, not because they don't have the skill, not because they don't have the talent, but their attitude's poor, and that speaks to the wrong people. So if I could go back and change anything, I would change the people. But having said that, you also learn and grow from those. So you learn and grow from those experiences. I think sometimes I just approached it with a high level of naivety or maybe too much trust. And I do get the told you so sometimes, but it is what it is. I think, again, the wins have far outweighed the losses in that space. As long as that person that you choose around you doesn't kill you, I think you'll be okay. You can recover and grow again.